Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Rain, teacher turned homeschool mom to 3 kids, and on this channel I share everything about our homeschooling journey and motherhood and etc, etc. And so today I wanted to more for me put down like a record of how we're doing school this year. This year we have decided to go Waldorf inspired, and last year we were Waldorf inspired, but it wasn't as heavy. I was still learning about it and taking the time to study more about it before I went into it, but it really appealed to me because of its artistic element and the gentleness with which it brings the subject to the children. And so I'm really appealed, like that really appealed to me. And this year we've decided to just go all in and do a Waldorf inspired school. And I say Waldorf inspired because we still take time to do our individual study work, which is still very much mainstream oriented, but at the same time I like to do it a grade behind, because then it becomes like a review work for them. So if you look in my videos, like my daughter is in 3rd grade and 1st grade, most of their workbook work will be 2nd grade and kindergarten-esque ish work. But that being said, and I do that because it's more for solidification of and the mastery of lessons and understandings, rather than just pushing them ahead into more subjects, and rather than perfecting the solid foundation that they could have. Okay, that being said, so this video is going to be about how I did Waldorf inspired lessons. So these may not be necessarily self-explanatory. So I wanted to put these down in a video so that, you know, when I went looking for what a Waldorf 2nd grade looks like, I did not find much in terms of what the lessons were like. And I want to put this out there for anybody else who is looking for me or was searching or is searching like I was. So I'm going to just kind of get into it. So off the bat, I'll let you guys know I purchased the Earth Schooling curriculum, and it went on sale, so I just grabbed it. And because it was what appealed to me about that was that it was a secular based curriculum, so that was interesting to me. Plus the Karima, who is the writer of the curriculum, has spent some time in Saudi Arabia, etc., and so she has a little bit of knowledge of diversity. I did not want the curriculum to be Eurocentric. I wanted it to be a little bit more diverse. So she's got some songs in there that have some Islamic themes. She's very respectful of, you know, making sure that it's multicultural. She has Eid in there. She's got Ramadan in there. She's got Diwali in there. There's a whole bunch of other cultures intermixed with the stories. So if you know how Waldorf works, is that you take a story, there's a story, and then you teach the child through the story, right? The learning comes in the way of a very creative method. And so my daughter is currently at the age of quote unquote Waldorf grade 2. So I decided to take, so this year we're going to be doing, according to the curriculum, this year is age appropriate to fables and saint stories. That's the container, that's the big stories that you use to teach the children the skills they need to learn in language arts, math, etc., etc. And so I just wanted to share some of the resources that I've used to come up and, you know, to help me through, to help me through making the curriculum for her. I used Earth Schooling materials because I needed a foundation. I needed somebody to tell me, oh, this is how you do it. Once I got the hang of how you do the lessons, I just started going off on my own. And that's typically how I do stuff. So I wanted to share this first book. This one is Aesop's Illustrated Fables, and I got this from Barnes & Nobles, I believe. This is one of their leather-bound series. It's a very beautiful copy, very aesthetically pleasing on the bookshelf, but at the same time, it's got wonderful, wonderful stories, whole bunch of stories. And so this unit, what we did, or this main lesson block rather, how we did it was that I would take stories from Aesop's Fables. I used this book, and I had thrifted this book, which is Aesop's Fables Illustrated. So I'm gonna see some of the illustrations here, right? And so I use these two as stories that to do copy work from, to understand spellings from, and such. But I still needed help in terms of figuring out how I would do my lessons. So I would use these stories. We would actually, like, sometimes I'd let my daughter pick, but usually most of the time I would pick ahead of time because I wanted the stories to be something that I could speak to her about. So a lot of the stories, some of the stories in here are about like honesty, goodness, trying to be a better human being. Basically what this year is about is looking into the flaws of the human nature and kind of picking out those things. That's what those animal stories speak to in that child. So we would just pick a story, and then off of that I would create a lesson. So, but the resources I used to create those lessons were something we want to work on this year is spelling. So we used All About Spelling 1 and 2. And I would not give her direct instruction from here. Basically what I would do is look at the lesson and say, okay, this lesson is about silent E. And so when we did the story, I would tell her the story, and then we would write the summary together. I made sure that we would have some words that had the silent E in there. And then as we are writing the summary, I would bring up those words and say, hey, remember the silent E? And then we would circle that. We would talk more about it. The next day we would have more practice with it, maybe coming up with words that have silent E and putting them into classifications, or making houses of those different letters that have silent E's in them. You could come up with basically a whole bunch of games and resources based on just one topic, right? And I try to do those as slow as possible, because I want to make sure that these things are kind of getting drained into her brain and not necessarily just something that she's kind of bookworking and just letting go of. So those are two resources. These, the All About Spelling books, these are just, if you notice, these are just the teacher's manual. I use those, and then I use this one called the Word Mastery Primer. This is for grades 1 and 2. So my younger daughter would participate with us often. And so basically it talks about the different letters, different sounds, short vowel sounds. And I'm going to take this bookmark out, and introduces the kids to that. So this is a really good book, in my opinion, if you have younger kids, around the ages of, I would say beginning spellers. This is a great book for beginning spellers because it solidifies those basics and builds upon them. And I really like that. Another resource I use, I'll tell you right here, is the Waldorf Teachers Resources.com. There are so many resources out there. If you are looking for free resources on teaching Waldorf, this one right here, the Waldorf Teachers Resources, has literally the whole thing planned out for you. I wanted it to be a little more multicultural. I wanted to bring some culture in there, our culture in there, our understanding of things. And so that's why it was best for me to pick and choose from different sources and put it together. I also took training. I still am. Jean from The Art of Homeschooling. I took training with her, and she does a great job really helping you build your lessons at home by yourself. And so this right here is basically like a rundown. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's like a rundown of the way language arts works and all the different ways you can teach it. Another resource I had is this one. This is called In the Prophet's Garden. And you may ask, how are you putting together Aesop's Fables and the Prophet's Garden Hadith? And that's because how I do that is that sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, that's gross. Anyways, so In the Prophet's Garden is a Hadith book. And the way I use this is that in a Waldorf classroom, there's a lot of rhymes and rhythms and memory work that goes on. And I would actually use some of these hadith as memory work or copyright, or if I'm stressing if I'm stressing a rule, a spelling rule, or I'm trying to point out some kind of grammatical things, I use these as inspiration. So like I will have a board in the corner of my room where I will actually write down the hadith, and then my daughters will come down. That'll be part of our morning circle, just to read the hadith every day. And at the end of the week, I'll ask them to narrate the hadith to me without any any what am I looking for here, and without looking at the board. And so this was a great way for me to incorporate our culture, our Muslim culture, into my Waldorf classroom, into my Waldorf studies, right? This was a really cool, simple way to bring that into their understanding of who we are. And then here's another book. This is a huge book, and if you have time, go for it. I obviously, as you can tell, went through it, didn't even finish it actually. This is called A Roadmap to Literacy. It's by Jeanette Langley and Jennifer Mills Kopler. This book is huge, basically covers all of language arts through the elementary grades. I believe through the elementary grades. Actually, it's just till 3rd grade. Yep, it says right here. Grades 1 through 3. And she basically breaks down how, when you're teaching, what aspects the child needs to understand for you to be able to teach that level of language to them. I don't know if that makes any sense. But basically, she even gives you lesson plans. It's a great book. It's a bit pricey. It's a thick read, but totally worth it in my opinion. So those were some of the resources, and I can kind of tell you how our rhythm went. The first day, I would tell her our Aesop story, right? This actually worked for my 1st grader as well. She would participate. She insisted on participating with us. So I kind of combined things, and I do a little bit of, like, if you ask us what grade work we're doing, I would not be able to tell you, because literally I do grade work from like kindergarten up to 3rd grade. Like it's just a huge array, because the girls are at different levels and different things, and that's typically how it works for homeschoolers anyway. So what I'll do is that I will do a story. I will tell them a story. We'll talk about the story. We'll talk about the moral behind the story. Then we'll orally come up with a summary about what happened. Then I just leave the story be. I don't do any work with it. I let it sit. I let it rest in their brains. I let the moral rest and sit in their brains. And then next day when they come, we do an artistic activity, meaning we'll do a painting. Typically, we will do a painting or a drawing. As you can see on the boards, I draw them as we go along. Like we were trying to make like an Aesop jungle thing going on here. I don't even know. So we'll do that. And so the next day, what will happen is that I'll have a drawing ready for her. And they say in Waldorf to have a prop, right? The prop can be a drawing, painting. You can make a stuffy out of it. You can felt an animal. You can do a modeling clay while the child is doing the story. Basically a prop to show the child, something to see. And so those are my props there. And so I do the drawing. They see my drawing, and then they tell me the story back again. And I encourage them to go, I encourage them to say more, to give me more details, to use more adjectives, to use more descriptive words, maybe, and I have them relate it to things that they needed to relate it to. So basically just deepening the understanding of the story and where it's coming from. And then we go into some word study, sentence study, whatever, right? Based on what I see they need at that time. And my understanding comes from these different books I shared with you. So that way, my point in sharing all this is that if somebody wanted to replicate a Waldorf class in their homes, it is completely doable, and it is so easy to do. It is not complicated. You do not need to go out and get a whole bunch of resources. Most of the resources are online and free, and you can tap into those and get creative with that. The one thing I loved about this is that it allowed me to just get creative with it and do what I wanted to do, and I see that my kids enjoy it, because as we're making, like I said, on the 3rd day or the 2nd day or the 3rd day, we do like a drawing, an artistic work with it, and then we start with our summary writing. So we will write short summaries. In the beginning, we started with me writing on the board and then copying it down. But my 3rd grader or 2nd grader, whatever, she has a mind of her own, and she loves writing and speech. She's a very verbal mind. And so she wanted to write her own summary. So I allowed her towards the end of the lessons, I would allow her to write her own words. So there was a section where she wrote I wrote the word down, or the summary down, and she would copy it. And then in the next section, she would write her own summary where I would help her with the spelling or whatever issues it had, the sentence structure and such. And so that really encouraged her to kid write or free write, so to speak, right? And it helped her build her language skills that way too. I will share a flip through of, I hope I can get to that. I'll share a flip through of her main lesson book. That way you guys get to see what that looks like. And you have to understand, this is not perfect. This is by no means a perfect system. I do not know exactly if this is even 100% Waldorf, and I'm pretty sure it's not. But you know what? It's great to bring elements of different philosophies and different ideas and put it together into your own unique homeschool. And I think it's so rewarding when you get to do that. Plus you get to be so creative and have so much fun with it. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about Waldorf or you're thinking about incorporating any kind of Waldorf into your homeschool, to really look into it, or to look at it. You don't even have to call it Waldorf if you're shy of the word. Just incorporate some creativity of this sort, storytelling, art into your homeschool, and that really helps bring out the creative side of your homeschool. And that's it, guys. I think I rambled quite long. And so I'm just going to end this here. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope it gives you a little something to think about. And for me, this is going to be a great reminder of how I did my main lesson for this child, so that I can, when I get to my other child, see if this is how I want to do it. I'll do it, or I can update it, or see what I need to do. If you like this video, please share. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, do your thing, right? And if you are looking for more Waldorf resources, or you're searching for something, please let me know in the comments if there's something you liked about this video, or you wanted to share more information with me. I would love to hear more information as well. So yeah, guys, go ahead, do your thing, and don't forget to hit subscribe and like, and that's it. All right, bye guys. Thank you for watching.